So all of these places failed to report abuse within 24 hours of me going to them because I went to them all 6 months ago. Every one of these services 6 months ago. Every one of them. Everywhere I go, this is how it is. I'm victimized out of my disability money. And then I'm victimized because I have nothing. I'm told that I chose it. No, I wouldn't have to be like this if I wasn't stuck in this environment. If I'm nice enough to you, will you just please not take advantage of me? But no, that's too much to ask. If I stand up for your rights, will you please stand up for mine? But that's too much to ask. He didn't care what was true. You wouldn't look. Nobody ever looks. They just want to argue until it's too late. Then maybe they'll look if I pay them enough to go, hey, you see this? You see how fucked up a situation this is? You see how evil people are to me? You see that I can't take care of myself? You see I'm having a mental breakdown everywhere I go? You see how I'm treated at hospitals? You see how I'm treated by the police and the Health and Human Services? I need them to shut up. It is a very complicated thing. I went to Natalie and Alicia and Maddie Boa for help. After I left Virginia, after I blocked them all. I blocked them all because they just wanted to assume all sorts of fucked up shit and treat me like shit. Not ask me what happened, not try to understand what happened. Just to play victim because they didn't get what they wanted. They got embarrassed because I had a fucking goddamn panic attack and a fucking meltdown. Because people's opinions show what their actions will be. Thank goodness to the Scudder family. I got some Haribo Gold Bears. And some Sour Patch Kids. I'll be living on these for about 6 months, I suppose. I'm going to be broke for a while. And people want to say they did things to help me. It's important to pay attention to when. What resources did I have and when? When did I have housing versus when did I have mandated reporters I was being sent to? Instead of them listening to understand, it was just, oh, I can't do anything. I can't do anything. You are fucking mandated reporters, god damn it. I shouldn't have to act like my predators. You fucking twats. Mm. Mm. Oh. 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 Ah. 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 Oh. Oh. These people are all pieces of shit, and you fucking know it.
You've reached the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. We are here to help. Para español, oprime el número 2. To reach the Veterans Crisis Line, if you are a U.S. veteran or service member or are calling about one, press 1. To connect to specialized support for LGBTQ plus people under the age of 25, press 3. Otherwise, please remain on the line while we route your call to a Lifeline crisis counselor. Your call may be monitored and recorded for quality assurance purposes. Please stay on the line while your call is directed to an available responder. Please stay on the line while your call is directed to an available responder. Please stay on the line while your call is directed to an available...
Hi, you reached the crisis line. My name is Penny. Do you have your name and phone number?
I don't actually know my phone number. It's a new phone. So reading it back to me won't do any good because I won't be able to verify it anyway.
Okay. And what is your name?
My name is Sean Schwartz.
Yeah. Are you having any thoughts of suicide today?
That's always a trick question. Ma'am, I'm trying to stop abuse against me, not trying to kill myself. I'm not trying to harm or hurt or injure anybody. It's people who have harmed, hurt, and injured me repeatedly, and I'm autistic. I have no defense against people who call me mentally ill and pretend I'm schizophrenic. I have no defense against people who want to treat me like I'm a drug-addicted, some sort of nasty pervert. I have no defense against it. I get disability money, though, because I am disabled. I'm next to a road right now. Traffic is driving by, and I can't understand when there's extraneous noise like that, and I'm in a state of crisis, and everyone capitalizes on that. And everybody capitalizes on this short amount of time. We're supposed to have friends and family that help us, but if we don't have friends and family that help us, we go to services, and they won't devote any time to actually listening. They want to gung-ho jump on everything, but they're not actually jumping on everything. They're too busy talking. Now, I've called 988 on multiple occasions because I was sent there as a crisis line. As a disabled and at-risk adult out on the streets who is harmed frequently and often and is forced to move frequently and often. who is forced to spend all of his disability money moving frequently and often. If it's not spent moving, it's spent running around to services in a place like this. Tillamook, Oregon sucks. Now, every time that I try to explain the crimes against me, it goes pretty well. But then once I start mentioning that all of the services here, including police officers, have done nothing for me for 6 months, but pawn me off on each other for a full 6 months, that I've talked to nearly every mandated reporter in this town and on the crisis lines, and all of them seem to have the same opinion that, you know what, I don't want to hear it, so I don't have to hear anything I don't want to hear, and I'll just talk over the retard. And that is not acceptable. Also, this consistently running around, going to places that have already broken the law and committed felonies against me, being sent to them again and again and again and again and again is not okay. I recorded 10 of my calls the other night with 988. And I also went through what it is that pushes people to suicide. Did you know that neglect is what pushes people to suicide? It's neglect.
Sir,
It's when
are you
somebody's
feeling
being abused.
neglected?
It's when somebody's being abused and they're being blown off by the mandated reporters over and over again. They're being blown off by their friends and family telling them, oh, you just need to ignore it. You just need to man up. I can't turn off my disabilities or the way that people take advantage of me because of them. Obviously, between trying to kill myself and trying to get help stopping the abuse by mandated reporters, I am trying to get the mandated reporters to obviously do their jobs. Just because the situation is complicated doesn't mean that it's okay to blow it off. I know that it's easier for people to just say, oh, he's mentally ill, you've had your 15 minutes, go away. But that's dismissive and it pushes people to kill themselves. When people are calling a crisis line and all people want to focus on is whether or not they have weapons and whether or not they're trying to kill themselves or others, I'm never trying to kill anybody. Never. The only people I have historically ever made any attempt at trying to kill is myself, and that is only because of extreme abuse. But then you call me mentally ill, and every time somebody harms me from then on in, they get to call me mentally ill, and their abuse gets to slide. Like, sure, the laws say that because I'm an at-risk adult, that these people are supposed to turn it in right away. But for the last 6 months, these people have been having me call their friends, their buddies at all these different agencies. It's a small town. They all work together. When crimes are committed against me, I'm bullied by the cops when they show up. That started when I first got here. I was stalked here by somebody across multiple jurisdictions. But in the last jurisdiction, people wouldn't listen either. It was the same thing. They send me around to all of these services. All of them supposed to be mandated reporters. And none of them did their jobs as mandated reporters. They just sent me around in circles like they do now with calling all of these different emergency services. On Monday, they tell me they're going to this and they're going to that and wait for a call. Meanwhile, I'm getting restricted call after restricted call on my phone. So I can't tell who's who. A lot of these emergency services, when they call us back, we're being stalked. Do you know how much it hurts us to know that we can't get help because in person we're just going to be talked over and our disabilities are going to be taken advantage of? They're not going to follow the laws or the protocols. But then when everybody in their office has broken the law and every one of them now has reason to fear losing their jobs and possibly going to jail or prison, then they start committing felonies and playing stupid and gaslighting the at-risk adult that they were just ignoring to begin with. They pretend that the harm against us doesn't exist by not taking a police report, not allowing us a police report. And all of these reporters, all of these mandated reporters know that they're supposed to help me with that. I'm sent to disability places that don't help me with that. They tell me the Department of Health and Human Services is supposed to do that. The Department of Health and Human Services has been ignoring me. When I go to them, they lie to me about what the laws are. I have to be familiar with the laws because I am an at-risk adult and I am so easy to blow off and so easy to take advantage of. And even when I recite to them what the law states about what they're allowed and not allowed to do to me, they'll go out of their way to try to change the law whenever it's convenient. And then they'll admit that I was right about the law to begin with 6 months down the road when I'm going to them. And I am literally having to force the issue. It is never okay to take advantage of an at-risk adult. It is never okay to gang stalk an at-risk adult. And when you force an at-risk adult to act like they're predators to try to get heard, that is atrocious and disgusting. For somebody who is in a constant state of panic because of abuse, they don't have to be being abused every moment of time. Somebody who's autistic needs a safe place to recover when they are overwhelmed, when they are abused. And I never have a safe place to recover. Now, I need to know that there is a number that I can call tonight, now, that you can say 100% beyond any shadow of a doubt that the person is going to listen to me and allow me to start from the beginning where this abuse started and why I am gaslighted everywhere I go. Is that acceptable? Are you there?
I'm so sorry. I understand your struggle. What are your plans for tonight?
All right, ma'am, you just changed the subject and completely dismissed what I was saying. Are you painting your nails while you're on suicide hotline?
No, sir, but I wanted to see what I can do for you tonight.
Ma'am, what you can do for me tonight is that you can listen to me and you can answer my questions instead of redirecting the issue.
Sure, what is your question, sir?
See, that's the point, is that none of you take it seriously. None of you take your job seriously. I have to repeat a question that I asked you, and I had a really long pause there, and it seemed to me like you were off doing something else, busy somewhere else mentally. But yes, I will repeat my question. Is there a place that I can call tonight that will listen to me and allow me to turn in the crimes that were committed against me without interruption?
Yes, I mean, you can always reach out to this line, but in terms of, seeking services, it looks like you've reached out to a lot of places already.
I have reached out to a lot of places, and I'm trying to turn them all in because they keep talking over me or not listening. See, I'm a very good listener, a very good listener. But it is not my job to listen to you guys. It is your jobs to listen to me. When I'm being abused, I need to be able to know that I can turn in the abuse instead of having you guys flip it around into I must be trying to kill myself or someone else. That is entirely unacceptable. That's something that shouldn't be pushed on people, especially somebody who has been through such a horrible experience. For them to be treated like what they have to say about their experience in being abused doesn't matter and isn't important. But you'll send me to resources. You'll send me to resources. You'll tell me, oh, I understand you've been to resources. You guys already know why we get sent to all these different resources. It's because none of you care, not unless we're a woman. A woman with children you'll listen to. If a woman with children decides she's going to take advantage of us, you don't care. So I'm going to start off with the fact that I have been sent to so many numbers and so many agencies that I could not ever possibly remember the names of all of them. There's no possible way. So if you ask me if I've called this place or that place, let me tell you who I've called just in Tillamook alone who have committed felonies. I've also gone to them in person and had people who work there commit felonies. We'll start off with Tillamook Family Counseling Center. For the last 6 months, me being sent to a place that will not do their jobs as mandated reporters is not okay. Let's also say the Department of Health and Human Services here in Tillamook and the local police officers here in Tillamook. We've had interactions over and over since I got here, where between looking at evidence and making it my word versus my predator's word, I always lose out. Because I'm not heard, because I'm too easy to victimize, I'm too easy to take advantage of. I try telling the police officers, but it's difficult when they're so busy grilling me like I'm some sort of a predator. That is so dehumanizing. That is worse than being raped. I know that from personal experience because I've experienced both. The person from the Department of Health and Human Services who was supposed to help me didn't help me. Instead, I have people being condescending to me and saying, oh, well, we're only allowed to focus on these questions and these questions. No, you need to focus on the abuse and not talk over the person who's abused. Now, calling 988, I call them as a crisis line. And instead of paying attention to it as a crisis line, I'm pushed to the suicide thing. Suicide, 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 suicide. Can we stop pushing the suicide thing? It is neglect of abuse that pushes people to suicide. So instead of neglecting the abuse and pushing someone to suicide, pay attention to the victim and listen to what they have to say without interrupting them, without talking over them, without preventing them from saying what they need to. Because if you do what it is that you started off with, this is how it ends up. It ends up with the victim, an autistic and a homeless victim who is afraid to go to you because we don't feel like we're being heard. When I say that I've been to a place and then I'm given phone number after phone number after phone number for Tillamook Family Counseling Center over and over and over for the last 6 months, the police send me to mental health. Mental health sends me to the police. Police send me to mental health. Mental health sends me to the police. All the while, I'm victimized by the public and I can't go to the police or mental health about it because even though I try, they talk over me and tell me to go to the other. Last week was the most horrible, atrocious, nasty thing that a human being could go through, short of having their best friend's head blown off. Natalie Marie Bollinger had her head blown off in Colorado in 2017. Now, there's a lot of crimes that were committed by mandated reporters both before and after that. There were a lot of crimes that were committed by a lot of drug addicts both before and after that. There's also the way that my friends and family treated me. When you guys take your mandated reporter training, I don't get why it is that instead of following the mandated reporter training, you throw the book out the window and you go for the quote-unquote on-the-job training that gets innocent people killed. But sure, it's a great way to make money for the county. It's a great way to make money for a whole bunch of counselors and a whole bunch of different programs to pay a whole bunch of wages and a bunch of pockets. But when we go to the mandated reporters and we have to go to them alone, especially as an autistic and at-risk adult. At the hospital, I was assaulted January 28th. That's what happens when we have to go in alone. Somebody from Tillamook Family Counseling Center wanted to do that whole suicide thing. Because all you care about, you don't care about the victim. You care about fulfilling a checklist. That's why I hate crisis lines. They don't care about the crisis. They care if you're trying to kill yourself. And if you're not, then they hang up on you, which usually results in people trying to kill themselves, wanting to kill themselves, feeling completely hopeless, which is what pushes people to kill themselves to begin with. And what is it that pushes people to being completely hopeless? Not being heard.
I understand your frustration, Sean. It sounds like you've tried talking to a lot of people, going to a lot of places to get the help that you need, and you don't feel like you've gotten the help that you've needed.
I haven't gotten the help that I've needed. I am an at-risk and disabled adult. I have autism. I have sensory processing issues. I don't have $1 million when I have to spend $800 a month just running around to different services for them to deny me the rights that they're supposed to be apportioning to me as mandated reporters. And I have to go back to them for 6 months running around in circles, having to call them over and over again because I'm told to. Everyone tells me it's someone else's job. It's someone else's job. All of you mandated reporters, this is federal stuff. That's why I go the places that I go to, is because these are federal crimes that were committed against me. I've been stalked across jurisdictional borders since October of 2016. I have been gaslighted since October of 2016. All because a drug addict who didn't get what she wanted right when she wanted it was embarrassed when I had a friggin' broken car, a broken telephone, and was severely dehydrated. And she spread slander, a lot of it. And even though the police in Chesapeake, Virginia are the ones that I went to, I was stuck in the road dehydrated. I didn't have any way to get help. And instead of trying to understand that I was a disabled and at-risk adult who was having a panic attack, I understand that Natalie didn't want everybody to know that she was on heroin. I understand that. I understand she was embarrassed. I understand she wanted to make her predators happy. I understand why victims go back to their predators. A good portion of it is that we go to mandated reporters and all they care about is if we're trying to kill ourselves or others. They don't care how many people have threatened to kill us, how many people have assaulted us. Neither do the police. I'm homeless and I'm a male. So instead of mandated reporters doing their jobs, they ignore it altogether. Do you know what the Violence Against Women Act is? Are you aware of the Violence Against Women Act?
I'm aware of it. Is that something that you wanted to talk about?
Yes, ma'am. The Violence Against Women Act, it's not just for women. It's just only used for women because the name is off-putting. Many of these agencies that we have to go to are off-putting because they still are primarily women's names. We're also treated differently when we go in by these services. They talk to us differently. Somehow when we go in there, I can hear when they're talking to another client and they listen to that client intently. And what that client says is important. And they let that person know that it's important by listening to them quietly and intently. Some of these people do go in there speaking fast because they just had a traumatic experience. And if it's a woman, they will listen to that woman explain her traumatic experience. Where it's a man, people get bored and annoyed that he would even try. The Violence Against Women Act is supposed to apply to all of us, not just women. And when we are targeted by women who want to play victim because of the Violence Against Women Act, in this situation, it doesn't apply to any of these women or these men. It applies to me as an easy to target individual, as an at-risk and disabled adult. But I'm not listened to as a woman. What I'm told that I need to man up. I don't have the supports from the public that a woman would because I'm a man. Anyway, Natalie was suicidal. Her and two of our mutual friends, one of them being her twin sister, were instrumental in getting me to Virginia. And the same thing with Brenda Dickinson of Chapel, Nebraska, and the same thing with Laura Nelson of Chapel, Nebraska. They were instrumental in my ability to get to Virginia. She peer pressured me heavy into doing it, even though I couldn't take care of myself. Now, I've always had a big heart, and I can't stand to have people dying. It sucks. So I do what the right thing is to do. When your friend or family member comes to you because they're suicidal, you don't send them to a suicide hotline. You can send them to a crisis line, but when suicide hotline and crisis line are the same number and they only push the suicide thing, understand that it's not abuse itself. It's not the violence against us that leads to suicide. It's neglect by the peoples and places we're sent to. Every woman in America since 1996 has been taught that she gets special treatment because she's a woman. So anytime she doesn't get what she wants, she can just play victim and everyone's expected to listen to her. Well, that law wasn't just written for women.
Sean, you're right. You've been very expressive in how you feel about all these places that you've gone to for help. Before I let you go for the rest of the night, is there something that I can do to help you?
Are you mandated reporters?
We're all mandated reporters. If you're unhappy with how things have been reported, I can also give you the number 2, and you can report these things as well.
Report to who?
You said that you've been unhappy with how police have treated you, and you've been wanting to, and that you have been unhappy with how mandated reporters have been reporting things in the past.
They haven't reported. I can't report it myself because of my disabilities and the lack of resources because of long-term abuse, including long-term stalking.
Well, you very much like how you've reached out to the crisis line. You can also reach out to the, and make a report yourself.
You literally haven't given me the name of any other place yet. And make a report yourself. That's not professional in the least bit.
Oh, if you feel like you need a place, I can give it to you. Are you looking to go into an agent APS and make the report?
Ma'am, I have already been to APS. I have been attempting this for months. Just here. Before I was here, I was in the Dalles. Before that, I was in Hood River. Before that, I was in Chapel, Nebraska. Before that, I was in McCook, Nebraska. Before that, I was in Chapel, Nebraska. Before that, I was in Colorado and Montana.
Okay. Well, it looks like, you are, earlier when you called, you said that you plan to call DDS in the morning. Do you still plan to do that?
Ma'am, I've already called all of these places. I call them every day. You have no idea, all right? These places are places who are not doing their jobs as mandated reporters. And then when I try to turn them in for not doing their jobs as mandated reporters after they've spent 6 months playing head games, I'm still being sent around in circles to these places. When I call your hotline, I'm not calling you because I want you to stop me from killing myself. If I was going to kill myself, I wouldn't have fucking called you to begin with. Pardon my French. I don't mean that as an insult towards you, and I don't mean it as a sign of aggression. I mean it as a sign of having to get some emphasis put on it.
Given to you.
Do what?
As far as tonight goes, I'm going to transfer you to the comfort line. And what are your plans for the rest of the evening?
Ma'am, you haven't given me any other places to go. You haven't.
It looks like earlier when you called, you said you plan to call DDS in the morning. Did you need the number to DDS?
No, I didn't, because the number to DDS doesn't go to DDS. It goes to the Northwest Senior and Disabilities Office. That's who it goes to. Okay. And I said I didn't need that number. I already had it. But I'd write it down anyway. But the thing is that I got that number again, and I write it down every time you give it to me. I've written it down at least, I want to say, 5 or 6 times out of the last 11 or 12 times I've called.
Okay, so it sounds like you don't need a number then. Is there anything else that I can do to help you tonight before I let you go?
Yes, ma'am. The numbers that you're trying to give me, I need to turn in those people for not doing their jobs as mandated reporters for an at-risk adult. I've been trying to do that for 6 months.
Okay, so you said that you already have the number and that you're going to call them tomorrow. I mean, actually, it's already
Ma'am, I'm
Monday,
telling you that the number that you gave me for DDS is not the right number. It's not the right number. It's not the right number.
Okay, so I can look for that number.
Now, I've been to the Department of Health and Human Services. Ma'am, you are not listening to me. You're talking over me, and you're being very disrespectful. That's the thing about trying to call to be heard. To the what?
You have reached the comfort line. You may select one of 3 recorded therapeutic interventions. Press 1 for guided imagery. Press 2 for a body scan relaxation exercise. Press 3 for affirmations.
Jesus fucking goddamn Christ. I affirm that 988 pushes everybody to suicide.
You have reached the comfort line. You may select one
fucking
of 3 recorded therapeutic interventions. Press 1 for guided imagery. Press 2 for a body scan.
Dismissive as fuck.